I knew something was wrong the moment I saw the little girl push through the tall crowd, her copper braids flying behind her like she was running from a fire no one else could see. I had never met her before that night, but the fear in her eyes cut straight through the noise of the San Francisco charity gala. I was seated at the VIP table, the one everyone kept glancing at because Ryder Burke, the most dangerous man in the room, had arrived. I was just a server, trying to make it through my shift without dropping a plate, but I felt the whole night shift the moment her small hand struck the table. But let me start a little earlier, from where everything began. My name is Bridget. I work as a server for high-end events across San Francisco. I never imagined my life would cross paths with men who ran entire criminal networks, or that my daughter Annie would become the center of a deadly plot. I walked into that ballroom with tired feet, a stack of unpaid bills waiting at home, and only one plan in mind: survive the night, earn my tips, and hope the babysitter wouldn't cancel again. But the babysitter did cancel, which meant my 7-year-old daughter ended up hiding behind the thick velvet curtains of the hotel ballroom, tucked away with a notebook and a handful of colored pencils. I told her to stay quiet, to stay hidden, to stay safe. She nodded, because Annie always listens. But Annie is not an ordinary child. She has a gift I don't fully understand, something she's had since she was 4. She can understand any language after hearing it once. She can read lips from across a room like she's watching the words appear on a screen. I never told anyone. I was too afraid of what people would do if they knew. While I worked the room carrying trays of champagne and smiling like I wasn't exhausted, Annie watched the crowd through a small opening in the curtains. She could hear everything. She understood everything. More than any child should. Across the ballroom, Ryder Burke entered like the air shifted to make space for him. No one had to say his name. Everyone knew. Tall, calm, dangerous, in a way that didn't need loud words or bold moves. His presence commanded attention. He took in the room with quiet precision, his eyes sharp and unreadable. But Annie wasn't looking at him. She was watching 4 Japanese men in crisp suits who moved like they had rehearsed their steps. They smiled politely. They bowed respectfully. They blended into the elegance of the night. But their lips told another story. Their words were not polite. They were talking about a target, a plan, a drink that needed to go to the right glass. Revenge. A 7-year-old girl should not understand what murder looks like before it happens. I had no idea any of this was unfolding. I was focused on serving the plates at the VIP table, trying not to shake as I placed scallops in front of Ryder. My supervisor watched my every move, ready to yell at the slightest mistake. Every tray meant another few dollars toward rent, toward groceries, toward Annie's school supplies. I had no room to fail. But Annie wasn't thinking about rules or consequences when she slipped from her hiding place. She wasn't thinking about the promise she made to stay put. She was thinking about the glass being set in front of Ryder, the glass that held something deadly. I didn't see her until she was at my side. Her little hand grabbed the edge of the plate, her voice breathless as she tried to speak. I barely had time to whisper, "Annie, no," before everything fell apart. She slapped the glass so hard it shattered across the marble floor, spraying shards across Ryder's shoes. The ballroom fell silent. Conversations froze. Heads turned. My heart stopped. "I'm so sorry," I said to Ryder, my hands shaking as I pulled Annie close. "She shouldn't even be here. Please forgive us." I thought he would shout. I thought he would demand my firing. I thought I had just destroyed the only income I had left. But Ryder didn't look angry. He looked curious. Annie leaned toward him, her voice trembling, yet somehow steady. "They put something bad in your drink," she whispered. "They said in Japanese it will make you sick in 20 minutes. The words hit me like a blow. My daughter had just accused 4 men of attempted murder in front of the most dangerous man in California. Ryder's eyes sharpened. He signaled his men with a single subtle movement, and the room shifted in a way no one else noticed. Security began closing in on the Japanese men. The head server tried to pull me away, ready to fire me on the spot, but Ryder stopped him with one cold sentence. "She stays." His tone made everyone freeze. Then he looked at Annie, studying her like she was the most unusual puzzle he'd ever seen. "How did you understand Japanese?" he asked. Before I could stop her, Annie answered with the same honesty she uses when talking about school or cartoons. I understand all languages after I hear them once. The room spun around me. My daughter had saved a Mafia boss's life, and nothing would ever be the same again. I never thought I would see fear in Ryder Burke's eyes, but when Annie told him how she understood the Japanese men, something changed in his expression. Not fear of her. Fear of what her ability meant. Fear of what the men who wanted him dead would do if they discovered her gift. And at that moment, standing in a ballroom full of powerful people, I realized my little girl had stepped into a world we were never meant to touch. Ryder lifted his hand slightly, and his security team moved fast. The 4 Japanese men were escorted away so quietly that most guests didn't notice anything. The orchestra kept playing a soft melody, but my heart pounded beneath my uniform like a trapped bird. My supervisor stormed over with fire in his eyes. He wanted me fired on the spot, but Ryder shut him down with one calm sentence. "They're my guests now." My knees almost buckled. Guests? Us? I didn't know what that meant, but I could see from the look in his eyes that this man was used to getting what he wanted, and what he wanted now was answers. Within minutes, 2 of Ryder's men approached. They didn't touch us, but they stood close enough that I understood we were expected to follow. I grabbed Annie's hand tightly as we were led toward a private elevator behind the ballroom. "Mom," Annie whispered, "there are more of them. 3 near the exit doors, 2 by the kitchens. They're waiting." My skin turned cold. How could she know that without seeing them? "Are you sure?" I whispered. She nodded softly. "They keep saying the name Tanaka." I didn't know who that was, but from the way Ryder reacted when she said it again upstairs, I knew it wasn't good. The elevator opened into a luxury penthouse suite overlooking San Francisco. We stepped into marble floors, glass walls, and artwork more expensive than everything I owned combined. It felt like walking into another world, one far from the small apartment where Annie and I struggled every month just to get by. Ryder was already there when we arrived. He stood near the window, his back to us, speaking softly into a secure phone. When he turned around, his eyes immediately landed on Annie. Not with threat, with calculation. "This child saved my life," he said to his security chief. "We protect her at all costs." Those words balanced on a thin line between comforting and terrifying. Annie walked straight to a leather sofa and curled up with her notebook like nothing unusual was happening. Ryder watched her with a strange fascination, as if she were a rare diamond he didn't know how to price. "What exactly can she do?" he asked quietly. "She understands languages," I replied, standing tall even though my voice shook. "After hearing a few words, she learns the whole thing. It's not something I can explain." Ryder's eyes narrowed slightly, but not with disbelief. With interest. The kind of interest powerful men have when they find something useful. Before I could say more, a man in a suit rushed in holding a tablet. "The drink was poisoned, sir," he said. "Untraceable, fast-acting, no public symptoms." My breath caught. Annie really had saved him. Ryder exhaled once, controlled and quiet, before turning to Annie. "How did you know?" She didn't look scared. She didn't even look confused. She just looked honest. "I saw them say it," she said. "They didn't think anyone could understand them." Silence filled the room, deep and heavy. Then everything changed. "They were after him before," Annie added softly. "They said this was their best chance because a gala looks like a natural place for sickness." Ryder's head snapped toward his men. "Lock the building down. And find everyone connected to the Tanaka group." They moved instantly. I stepped forward, my voice shaking. "Please, let us go home. My daughter is tired. We don't want to be part of this." Ryder looked at me, and for the first time since I met him, I saw something close to softness in his eyes. But it disappeared just as quickly. "They already know who she is," he said, "and they know you're her mother." My stomach dropped. "They will come for you now," he continued. "To silence loose ends. They think she overheard more than she did." I felt dizzy, sick, helpless. "And you?" I asked. "Why take us?" His answer was simple and terrifying. "Because your daughter is the only reason I'm alive right now. And because, if Tanaka wants her, then keeping her alive protects me too." He paused. and I intend to keep her alive." That should have comforted me. Instead, it felt like shackles wrapping around us. Annie looked up from her drawings and pointed at the security screens on the wall. "He's here," she said. "The man with the dragon tattoo. The one giving orders." Ryder's eyes widened. "Where?" Annie pointed again. "He's pretending to be a delivery man." The room erupted into motion. Alarms triggered. Ryder pulled out a phone and began giving sharp commands. His men stormed into positions around the penthouse. I pulled Annie into my arms, my heart shaking in my chest. "We have to leave," Ryder said. "Now." And in that moment, I understood something clearly. My life no longer belonged to me. Tanaka wanted my child dead. Ryder Burke wanted her protected. And both men had the power to shape the rest of our lives. I held Annie close as Ryder's men rushed through the penthouse, preparing for an attack none of us could see, but all of us could feel. My heart beat so fast it almost hurt. It didn't feel real. Just hours earlier, I was stressing about tips and rent. Now I was praying that armed men didn't break through the walls looking for my daughter. Ryder walked toward us with fast, controlled steps. His expression was calm, but his eyes revealed the weight of everything closing in. He pointed toward a wall that looked like solid marble until a hidden door slid open. "We're moving to the safe house," he said firmly. "Now." I didn't have the strength to argue. All I could do was follow while trying not to collapse under fear. His men surrounded us as we entered a private elevator. It shot downward, away from the penthouse, and into a secure garage beneath the building. Outside, black SUVs waited with their engines running. Everything happened so quickly, like Ryder had rehearsed this moment long before we ever stepped into his world. We were inside one of the SUVs within seconds. Annie sat between us, her small hands gripping mine tightly. Her eyes were wide but steady, her mind working in ways I still didn't fully understand. "Mom, the bad men aren't done," she whispered. "They're talking again. I can hear them." Quote, "You can't hear through walls, sweetheart," I said softly, brushing her cheek. She shook her head. "I don't need to." "They're talking in Japanese in the alley behind the hotel. I saw their lips on the camera screen." Ryder leaned forward, his voice low. "What did they say?" "They said they failed tonight," she replied, "and they won't leave until they fix it." The SUV jerked forward as Ryder gave a sharp signal to his driver. We raced through the city streets with a full security detail around us. San Francisco passed in blurry streaks of neon, headlights, and fog. I couldn't see danger, but Annie could. That terrified me more than anything. When we reached the safe house, an estate in the hills so beautiful it didn't seem real, I barely felt the cold night air as we were escorted inside. The house was huge, clean, perfect. Nothing like the little apartment Annie and I lived in. There were guards outside, guards inside, guards watching monitors that showed every corner of the property. Ryder walked straight to the kitchen and poured himself a drink, but his eyes stayed on Annie. "Your daughter," he said quietly, "may have just saved my entire organization." I stepped in front of her. "My daughter is a child. Please don't talk about her like she's part of your world." He met my eyes with an expression I couldn't read. "She is in my world whether you want it or not." Tonight made that clear. Anger pushed through my fear. I didn't ask for this. We didn't ask for any of this. He set the glass down slowly. "And yet here you are," he replied, "because Tanaka made you targets the moment Annie opened her mouth." My stomach twisted. Annie sat on one of the large leather couches, sketching quietly in her notebook. She drew faces with perfect precision. The same faces she had seen for only seconds at the gala. Ryder watched her with an intensity that scared me. "What are you drawing?" he asked gently. "People who were at the party," she said. "The ones you didn't catch yet." He walked closer, his jaw tightening as he looked at her drawings. "These are exact matches to our surveillance," he murmured. Annie kept coloring. "They were scared when their plan failed. One of them said they should try again tomorrow." I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, I wanted to wake up from this nightmare. Instead, I forced myself to speak. "What does this mean for us?" I asked Ryder. What happens now? He didn't answer right away. He looked at Annie again, his expression shifting into something heavier. Your husband was one of my accountants, he said finally. A very important one. His words hit me like a punch. That's not true, I whispered. Scott worked at an investment firm. Ryder nodded once. A front, for us. My breath left my body. I grabbed the counter to keep myself standing. He wasn't just an accountant, Ryder continued. He was gifted. He could see patterns in numbers most people missed. It made him valuable. Too valuable. That is why Tanaka targeted him. My vision blurred. He told me, Ryder said more quietly, that if anything happened to him, I should take care of you and Annie. From a distance, without ever revealing the truth. I felt the room tilt, but he kept speaking. He didn't die in a random accident. It was a hit. Tanaka's hit. I covered my mouth as tears filled my eyes. Annie looked up from her drawings, her voice soft and steady. Daddy knew this would happen, she whispered. That's why he sent me that last letter. What letter? I asked. She reached into her backpack, pulling out an envelope she had never shown me. My hands shook as she placed it in my palm. Daddy said I would understand it when I was ready. Ryder watched carefully as I opened the letter. Inside was a message written in several languages, intertwined like a puzzle. I couldn't understand a single word, but Annie could. She took the letter, her eyes scanning it quickly. He left us a place, she said. A safe place, a secret one, with everything we need to stop the bad men. Before I could ask what she meant, alarms exploded through the house. Ryder's security rushed into action. They found us, one guard shouted. Ryder grabbed a gun from a hidden panel in the wall. Bridget, he said sharply, take Annie, stay behind me. Outside, shadows moved across the grounds. They had come for my daughter. And I finally understood. We were not running from danger, we were the danger now. The alarm kept ringing through the safe house like a warning from a world I never wanted to enter. Ryder's men rushed through the hallways and practiced formation, their weapons drawn. I clutched Annie's hand so tightly my knuckles went white. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stared at the screens on the wall as the attackers closed in. They're coming from the south gate and the back woods, Annie whispered. 2 groups. One is led by the man with the dragon tattoo. Ryder spun toward her. How do you know that? He's talking right now, she said softly. He thinks they trapped us. Her voice made my skin crawl with fear and something else, something close to awe. My daughter was extraordinary, and because of that, we were in terrible danger. Ryder grabbed his phone and spoke fast into it, sending commands to the remaining security teams. Men moved like shadows through the house, locking steel shutters and activating hidden defenses. The lights dimmed, replaced by red emergency glow strips along the walls. They found us because someone on my team leaked information, Ryder said. We can't stay here. My throat tightened. Where are we supposed to go? Quote. He turned toward Annie, then toward me. To the place your husband left behind. Before I could respond, Ryder led us through another concealed door behind the fireplace. A long, concrete hallway stretched out behind it, dimly lit and cold. His men guided us as gunfire erupted somewhere above. The night turned into a blur. We ran through the tunnel, emerged into a hidden boathouse beneath the hill, and boarded a sleek black speedboat. Fog rolled across the bay as Ryder steered us into the darkness. I wrapped Annie in a blanket and held her as tightly as I could. Mom, she whispered, pressing her cheek against my arm. The boats behind us are getting closer. I turned and saw them, dark shapes slicing through the fog like predators. Ryder increased speed, the engine roaring, the wind freezing my tears before they fell. They're following us, I said. I know, Ryder replied calmly, but they're not going to catch us. Annie studied them with narrowed eyes. They said they want to take me alive. If they take Mr. Burke too, they said it would be a bonus. I felt sick. Ryder didn't flinch. They won't touch either of you. The fog thickened, swallowing us whole. Annie suddenly lifted her head. Turn left, she said. Fast. Ryder obeyed instantly. We cut across the water, sliding between two abandoned piers. A massive warehouse loomed ahead, old and rusted, with faded blue doors barely visible. "That's it," Annie whispered. "Daddy's place." Ryder guided the boat toward a submerged entrance. Steel doors lifted automatically, revealing a hidden dock inside the warehouse. The moment we entered, the doors sealed behind us, cutting off the sound of the chasing boats. The boat stopped. Silence settled thickly around us. "This place is real," I whispered. "He actually built this." Ryder nodded. "Your husband wasn't just an accountant, he was a strategist." We stepped onto the platform, and the warehouse lights flickered on. It wasn't a warehouse at all. It was a hidden operations center, complete with computers, surveillance feeds, files, and equipment I didn't recognize. Annie ran ahead and found a small table with a sealed envelope addressed to her in her father's handwriting. She opened it, her fingers trembling. "What does it say?" I asked. She read the message slowly, then looked up with serious eyes. "Daddy said this place is the key. It has everything the bad men fear. And if something happens to him, I'm supposed to show it to the right person." She turned toward Ryder Burke. "He meant you," she said. Ryder's expression cracked for the first time since we met. Something like grief or loyalty passed through his eyes. Before anything else could be said, the warehouse screens flashed red. Multiple boats appeared on the camera feeds outside. The attackers had found us. "They're everywhere," Annie whispered. 32 men. 7 boats. They're forming a circle. Quote. Ryder reached for a weapon, his voice steady. "Then we end this now." But the sound that cut through the room wasn't gunfire. It was a helicopter, followed by another. Dozens of bright lights broke through the fog outside. Federal agents stormed the waterfront, surrounding Tanaka's men from every direction. Annie pointed at the lead agent on the screen. "She's telling them to arrest everybody, even us." Ryder muttered under his breath. "Of course she is." But the leader, Special Agent Harlow, wasn't foolish. When the dust cleared and the guns were lowered, she inspected the evidence Scott had collected. The files, the recordings, the financial records, everything pointing to Tanaka's empire. "This is enough to bring down 3 criminal syndicates," she said quietly. Ryder glanced at me and Annie, then back at the agents. "You'll give them protection, both of them." "I'll cooperate." Her eyes narrowed. "You're offering to turn informant?" "I'm offering to end a war," he replied. Hours later, standing on the balcony of a federal building, Annie leaned against me as the sun rose over the bay. Helicopters buzzed in the distance as agents continued sweeping up the last of Tanaka's men. "Mom," she whispered, "Mr. Burke is leaving with them." I looked through the glass window and saw Ryder in handcuffs, speaking calmly to the agents. He turned once, looking toward us. His eyes softened when he saw Annie. "He helped us," she said. "Daddy trusted him." I kissed the top of her head. "We'll be safe now." Annie nodded. "Where we go next doesn't matter." She took my hand, "As long as we're together." And for the first time since that night began, I believed her.